right, everybody, welcome back to Middle Earth. Here we are with the season finale of The Rings of Power Season 2. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to dive into this with you guys. I'm super excited. This is a Watching Now podcast where we go full-on nerd on all things streaming TV, recaps, breakdowns, spoilers. We're going to spoil shit. Get ready for it. I'm joined today, as I have been for this entire series, with two incredible people. Aundawyn, say hi to everyone out there if they don't know you by now. This is season finale, but say hi.
Mekelvaden. I am also known as Aundawyn, and that is very familiar to you Tolkien fans. It is based off of the River Aundawyn.
And you can find her over on Roll D5 on YouTube and Twitch. It's her TTRPG channel. Go over there and check that out. And then you heard his voice and you're seeing his face right now. Chris, longtime friend, foodie, but more importantly, our Tolkien expert on this show. Chris, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
That's it.
I don't have anything to promote. I'm just here.
You're just here. And I'm Drew. I'm your host of the show. I kind of run things over here at CouchSoup, which hosts the Watching Now podcast. And man, I'm just coming in as a fan, and I'm excited to be a fan of all things Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power. But let's listen. Enough about us. Let's get started. I want to talk about real quick. We're going to do non-spoiler thoughts on episode 8, the season finale, Shadow and Flame. Let's do it. Let's start with you. What you think?
Yes, there's some of course in every episode things are visually stunning. So this one had some even more stunning cinematography that I really, really enjoyed. There were some places that were a little disconnected, or we saw some things that were probably happening off screen, but I will talk about some benefits potentially to some of the disconnects. But all in all, it was really strong, and I really, really liked it. As always, great. I like everything.
That's great. Chris, what's your overall thinking on this?
Overall, a lot of satisfying things, some really cool depictions from the books, some cool lore references. And then on the other side, there were some things that I'm kind of a little I wonder why are they going this way? You know, almost like they're undoing some of their own work. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel me with that? We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think I'm excited to kind of break down. I'm a bit mixed on this episode. I feel like the first 6 episodes were really good, and then even the 7th episode was strong, even though it had kind of some narratively logical issues with it, and I kind of overlooked them because the action was so cool. Mm-hmm. And then this episode, the action wasn't quite as cool, so the narrative flaws stood out a little bit more. And I kind of left a bit. I was left a bit wanting, I guess, in some instances, and a little annoyed in some places. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but I think I say this all the time. It's fantasy. It's Lord of the Rings. Listen, it could have been 2 people drawing sketches of characters and stick figures fighting and doing voices of elves, and I would have fucking loved this.
Same.
So it's hard for me not to like what's happening, but I do have nitpicks, and I'm gonna nitpick it because I love it so much. And let's do that. Let's nitpick it, and we're gonna do a scene by scene breakdown of the episode starting now with spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Listen, you need priorities. Let's go watch it. And here we go. We open on Khazad-dûm. Durin and Narvin.
Your favorite.
My favorite. Khazad-dûm.
I'm never quick enough.
You see Durin, he's kind of making his way down to Prince Durin is making his way down to see his father, the king, and he comes across Disa, and Narvi tending to the poor miners that got their ass kicked by an old man with a power ring.
Yeah.
This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the moment. His father said, "Are you strong enough to attack your father?" And he goes, "No, I'm not." And he kind of pleads to his like humanity or dwarfanity. What would that be? What's the humanity version of dwarf? And it's great. Like he's like, "Listen, I remember when I was a kid, we used to arm wrestle, and you used to let me win, or you used to let me feel like I was getting an edge up." And it's a heart wrenching moment. And he's like begging his father to take off the ring, and his father's like, "If you were a real dwarf, you would have never pled. You would have never begged." And he like breaks through the wall and walks through, and there's mithril lining the cave system.
That was so pretty.
Awesome.
So many ore veins in there.
Yeah. And the king is basically he's like, "I am a genius. This is what I." And there's a moment I feel like even Prince Durin's like, maybe you're onto something there, buddy. Like there's no more contention. Like they're all just in awe of what's in front of them. And we hear the Balrog wasn't happy with that last break through the wall, and
Ring didn't show you that, did it?
No, yeah, which is strange. Yeah, which is kind of strange that it wouldn't.
Balrog isn't treasure.
The Balrog, you see they could hear it, and the whip hits King Durin's leg and starts to pull him down.
The design of the Balrog is so cool because I'm pretty sure there's like not like an argument, but it's kind of like, is there or is there not canonically wings on a Balrog?
Oh, this is a huge point of contention.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
This is like just like who or what is Tom Bombadil? Do Balrogs have wings or not? This is like one of the two. Those are the two classic debates among Tolkien nerds.
Yes, and it's great too because the depiction in both like the Fellowship and in Rings of Power, he's got like these smoky wings, so it appears to be wings, but they don't seem to really do much. But then there's random bits in both sections where you're like, I think I can see almost like bony like bits of like wing structure, and so it's kind of like, does
there's
it
definitely
look
a
like
structure to it? Yeah.
And I'm team Balrog has wings because it's just cooler in my opinion. Sorry,
he looks cooler. I've switched camps at some point in my youth. Thought Balrogs had wings. Now I'm on the no wings camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Well, I guess it really just doesn't make sense that the Balrog would keep following with Gandalf if he could fly. But really, if you go to the textual evidence and you read the actual description, when the Khazad Dûm fight between Gandalf and the Balrog happens, it says that it describes the Balrog as coming in and being man-shaped, and the shadow was around him. And then it says the shadow stretched out like wings, like great wings. Doesn't mean that he has wings, but then other people on the other side will argue from the Silmarillion that in a certain description in one of the battles, it's described as the Balrogs flew to Morgoth's aid, but that also, if you think about like Gandalf, for example, the sense of the word fly, when he says fly, you fools, he doesn't literally mean fly away with your little hobbit wings, Frodo. And Tolkien is probably using the word in that sense when he talks about the Balrogs flying to or from Thangarajum.
Yeah. I do understand that, especially in the textual version. In a visual TV show cinematic sense, wings are cooler for sure, but I don't think they work at all, which gives credibility to they definitely don't have wings because they're just.
I don't know. I don't have a stake in it. I don't get emotionally involved in it anymore like I did when I was younger about which side are you on and whether somebody is right or wrong. I get more excited about let's talk about the textual evidence for both sides, and then come away from it being like, okay, well, sure, that's now we're all better off having discussed it, and nobody has to change their mind because it doesn't really matter.
But God, he does look cool with wings on, doesn't he?
Smoky
Which
wings.
is why I like this design. It's like based on the John Howe paintings from before there were these cinematic depictions of this version. I mean, there was a Balrog in the Ralph Bakshi film, if you've seen that, and he's very sort of lion-maned and not as scary looking, and he has wings for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I like how they make it a little ambiguous so that you can still decide whatever you want to decide.
Yeah, so he's got Durin, and the Balrog seems to fall back down a little bit farther, and it gives Durin and King Durin and Prince Durin, a moment to kind of like, have a moment, right? And the king kind of realizes, like, I fucked up, you were right. And he takes off his ring and he puts it down, and it's not like he hands it to Prince. He puts it down on like a rock, like over here, like over here on the rock ledge or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, go, and he turns, and the prince tries to go after him, but Disa and Narvi are there to hold him back. Hold the prince back, and the king does a slow motion run to his death. It's so badass.
How badass is this image of old Durin slow-mo just leaping into the air with his
legs just like trying his hardest,
just mid-air, and then you see the Balrog kind of just turns to dust.
Please.
Yeah, like turns into like flame.
Yeah.
And then the cave system kind of crashes down. And I kind of had a moment. I was like, well, shit, is the ring gone here at this moment? And we get an answer later. Yeah.
I think you're meant to wonder that at that point.
Yeah.
But I was leaning pretty heavily to, no, this one doesn't get destroyed, because if it got destroyed, why bother having him take it off and set it down? They're showing this gratuitous shot of the ring sitting there for a reason. So.
Right.
Yeah, as more than just a symbol of taking off the ring, it's like, no, we actually there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think he would have had any chance against the Balrog even with the ring, or just no chance?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. Balrogs are Maiar. It's the very reason why Gandalf tells everybody else to get out of there, because he's the only one that can hold it back. He's the only one that even has any kind of fighting chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is this how? This is obviously new. This is new. This is all new. Like, this isn't how King Durin III goes out, right? In the text.
I don't remember how he actually goes out.
Yeah, because just to kind of remind you that some of the differences between this show and the lore, the Balrog is a third age thing, and it's not either of these two Durin that should be encountered. This is not. Right. It's not either of these that it's Durin's bane. So it's kind of been moved into the second age, and I don't know, one of these Durins I guess would have been or both at various points. But there really shouldn't be two Durins at the same time either. I'm not even sure if we talked about that ever, because
I think that was the first thing we brought up.
Yeah. So anyway,
how in the text, how does the King Durin III?
No, what they're doing here is they're taking an element of the story that we're given in like the Tale of Years and whatnot from the Third Age, and that we know about from just the dwarf history of the Balrog, and they're bringing it into the show. So taking it in and putting it into the Second Age and saying, well, what are the dwarf kings that would have been here in Khazad-dûm at that time, and saying, okay, well, it would have been either the third or the fourth. Well, why not both, since we're compressing all this anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, it's awesome.
It is one of the coolest things ever.
I was definitely thinking about you when we were watching it, and then that slow-mo, just like, click, this is for Drew.
But it cuts, man. We're boom, right into opening credits for the season finale. Great cold open.
The whole internet was like, that was the intro?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Kind of, in a way, almost overhyped me. I was like, oh, shit, here we go. A little let down after that coming. It kind of progressively got worse for me. But we come after the opening credits. We pick back up in Rune. The stranger is just meandering his way to, like, the store village. how he knew how to get there, when he made the decision not to look for his staff and go after Papi and Nori. All these questions are not.
I think we kind of knew that was the direction he was going to go.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Bombadil basically gave him an ultimatum. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sort of like, I feel like it could have been a little bit more like, oh, do I or don't I?
Like he looks in the general direction of something to indicate.
Yeah. There was no, it was missing a scene. That's all. And
that happens a lot in this episode, I think.
Yeah,
I saw
exactly.
a Reddit. I saw a Reddit user that before what we recorded last time had proposed that probably the correct decision was to go and help his friends instead of look for the staff, and so I don't know. I guess to me, I was feeling like, okay, well, that's what's happened here, but we didn't see that in the show. I saw that on Reddit.
What I was going to do. Mm-hmm. So he walks in, and the Dark Wizard appears, and he's like, "Hello, Manwë promised you would come," and I'm like, "Who the fuck is Manwë?" Goes in my head, and I was like, "What?" And he gives her like, so I don't know, like maybe we pause there, like, all right, help me out. Who's Manwë? And then we can keep going.
We should definitely talk about that.
Manwë is the king of the Valar, and so so we've discussed who the Valar are before, and so like the highest of their order would be in Middle Earth, second only to like God himself, like the actual God.
Isn't he the brother of? He's like the brother of Morgoth too, or I guess
he was
Melkor.
Considered in the beginning to be the brother of Melkor, who is that's the Valar name, the Valar name of Morgoth. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what happens to this Manwë?
What,
like he's still like
in a mountain somewhere.
All the Valar are still in the Blessed Realm over in Valinor in the west. Yeah, it's said that he goes up onto a mountain called Tuniquetil and doesn't come down and directly, since the last battle, they don't want to directly use their own force and their own might to intervene anymore, because it ends up having unintended consequences and unintended like resentment and whatnot. So
Speaking
to that end, Manwë convenes a council and puts together some members at set of our own order, and chooses 5 basically Maiar spirits to go, and the one that he chooses is essentially Gandalf. That he wasn't named that in the West, but yeah. And there's different versions depending on which version you read. Like the Unfinished Tales version says some of the things I've just said. Says that Saruman, or I'm just going to call them their names that we know them by, because everybody has at least 16 names in the Silmarillion and whatnot. So Saruman was chosen by Aule, the smith, who is also associated with the dwarves. He created the dwarves, which is appropriate because Saruman is like interested in crafting and making. He describes himself as ring maker, whatever that means. Anyway, well, I'm kind of babbling here, but Manwë puts together the council. He wants Aloran to go, but it's said in Unfinished Tales that when he calls the council, Aloran is late, having just come back from a journey, and he says, "Well, what do you command of me?" And he says, "Well, we need help. We need somebody to go help the elves and humans in Middle Earth in case the darkness comes again, but not in not in a direct way using force or power or commanding them, but to inspire them and help them and keep them hopeful." Mm-hmm. And he notably says that he doesn't want to go because he feels he's too weak and he fears Sauron. And Manwë says, "Well, that's all the more reason why you should go." Mm-hmm. It was kind of already decided, I think, that in this version that Saruman would go first, and Yvonnya, who is like the Valar associated with growing things, birds and beasts and trees and the Ents and all that, she begs who would become Radagast. He said, "Well, take him with you too, so that there's somebody that one of the wizards at least will be looking after my interests." And Gandalf can be third. And Varda, who is the queen of the Valar, says, "Not third." And the implication being that, like, no, this guy should be first. And it said that Saruman never forgot it. And like, that was like the beginning of the resentment, not spoken, but just remembered, So there's not really a lot said. I've said a lot here, but like there's not really in total a lot said about all this.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, just to if I'm understanding what you're saying, you're saying the council, Manwë, he said he wanted Gandalf to go first out of the five elves?
His wife,
or five wizards?
Or Elber, yeah, his wife wanted Gandalf to go first. He just wanted Gandalf to be on one of these people that went at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I thought, and sorry, I'm just trying to understand there were three blue elves that came first.
There are two blue wizards.
Blue wizards. Sorry, yeah,
blue wizards. Okay. And then
yeah.
Gandalf and Sauron came in the Third Age.
Mm-hmm.
So is this? Am I mixing up these two contingencies?
Well, no. There's different versions. Okay. Basically, it's like this. There is a version of the wizard story in an essay called The Astari that's in Unfinished Tales. That one was written and published earlier. That's the one where he says the things that I've just said, and it also says that they all come in the Third Age, and that Gandalf arrives last, notably, in that version, and that's also where the part is that says that he arrived last, but it seemed like he was the least, being shorter than the rest of them and maybe a little weaker. But Círdan, ever having foresight, recognized that he was actually the most powerful and the most gifted, and that's why he gave him the ring in secret and said, I've only been entrusted to keep this secret, but I foresee that you're going to be able to put this to better use. And he gives him Narya the ring, the ruby ring, at that point. That's all in Unfinished Tales. There's an interesting note in Unfinished Tales where it's by Christopher Tolkien that says there are some side scribblings, and there's a section here that is not legible at all. And if you've ever seen any of Tolkien's writings, like he could really write beautifully, but when he was just writing in his notebook, like these are my notes to myself, yeah. I don't know how anybody could read that. So then here we are, like I don't know how, I don't have the dates here, but some like at least 15, 20, maybe years later, when he continues to publish the histories of Middle Earth, a book called The Peoples of Middle Earth coming out that's mostly late writings. And Christopher Tolkien says, I referred to this essay on the Astari back in Unfinished Tales, and I said that this was illegible, but I think I've finally been able to put it all together. And in that version, he says, this time meaning J.R.R. Tolkien, in the note that he couldn't read before, says that the blue wizards probably came first, and in the Second Age, and then the later three in the Third Age. And then he says other things too. There's like also a difference as to whether or not they were successful, or notably that he tells what their names were in Middle Earth and all that sort of thing. But so to answer your question, it's a little more complicated. And it's always like this, the deeper you go into it. There are different versions. And then so much of this being published after Tolkien himself passed away, Christopher Tolkien had to make like a decision of do I when I publish these stories, do I take what his final intentions probably were, and in so doing complete more of it myself? So I have to write some of this stuff to finish it out to make it a story, or do I take the most complete version of his stories, put them together so as to have the least possible actual things that I wrote myself to tie it all together? And that's the way he chose to do it.
Well, the Dark Wizard, he tells the stranger, he's like, yeah, there were 5 of us, like you said, Chris, and he says you convinced us to travel from the furthest west because you knew we couldn't defeat Sauron. And so he's implying that the stranger sort of like put this together, like he is the mastermind behind everyone coming down to help and defeat Sauron.
Which is why for a brief second, because he said the 2 of us, like you and I, for a brief second I was like, Blue Wizards? Oh, no, not Blue Wizards.
Yeah.
But it was a brief glimpse of hope that I didn't know I had left.
I didn't know I had left.
I mean, I don't know. There's nothing like that I'm aware of in the lore. So I'm thinking that either this dude's just lying, or the show is taking some liberties with the story. It's hard to say. I don't know, like, because if you think about what we've seen in the show so far, and I've mentioned this before, like when I was commenting about how the Dark Wizard is doing a lot better than the Stranger, who we've seen basically have to like go from like a baby mind or something, which is, that part of it itself isn't entirely outside the lore. It does say somewhere that they probably had to relearn a lot of things being newly embodied, and that they had memories where they knew where they came from. It says, but it was like a distant, far off vision, and they didn't really talk about it. So really, if you go by the lore, none of them should have like this distinct, clear memory of like, no, you convinced me to do this. So just, I guess deep inside, that makes me just feel like he's just lying. He's manipulating him in some way.
This whole bit with him talking felt very like, oh no, why are you doing this? This is crazy. Like, it was so hilarious to me, and also like dude, you gotta try harder.
Yeah, he needs to take some classes from Sauron on how to manipulate people, because he's not doing a really good job. Because he brings out, he's like, look, I have your friends, and they come out by knife.
I told you they were supposed to be harmed.
And he's like, oh, what are you guys doing? And he kills one of the other gold-faced cloak guys and tries to pretend like, oh, I just hired these idiots, and like the good help is so hard to find kind of vibe.
That's so funny.
It all just feels like you're just like, what the, like, buddy, like, take an acting class. I don't know.
It's almost, because I think, this is like a lot of thoughts happening at once, because it's like, who is this person? Because now we've moved from the Stranger to the Dark Wizard, which I don't claim that name. It's also starting to be heavily implied that it's Saruman. Oh, yeah. And which would piss me off a lot more than it would with this being Gandalf, which I didn't end up getting really all that too mad about. I just didn't like that it took so long to get here. And I will talk about that again. Another thing I'll talk about when we get there. But he is so bizarre to me, because he does have almost like the look of Saruman, with the eyebrows, the hair, the kind of like general aura, but it would not make any logical sense at this time for it to be Saruman, because they are friends. Him and Gandalf are friends when we see them before he turns evil. He doesn't start evil, be good, and then turn evil. Nothing that aligns with what we know about Saruman. This would make sense in his character, and it would retcon him in the weirdest way.
Yeah. And you'd have to come up with some explanation as to how Gandalf came to trust him again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm still leaning toward this could be one of the blue, or none of the five, or something else.
Just somebody else.
Or there's also text that describes that there are more than 5 wizards, that the 5 Astari that we, as we know, are just the chief of the people of these emissaries that came to the northwest of Middle Earth. So they could go any direction with this character.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got my eye out for that, but that obviously has nothing to do with the way he's not literally acting, but his character is acting, because I think it's his way of trying to manipulate Gandalf, but he's obviously not very good at it. And that's what makes it comical to us, where it's like, dude, we know what's going on. You can't do this to us. So I found it comical in a way that's just like you tried. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
You did great.
Yeah. And the Stranger doesn't have any of it. The wizard, the Dark Wizard, kind of like, come with us, come with me. We could defeat Sauron together. And he's like, I wouldn't go anywhere with you. I don't know. Basically gives him a hard no. And the wizard wasn't happy about that. And he basically does some woody magic with his staff. And he basically just crumbles the entire store village around them, and rocks start falling and killing halflings, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to get out, make it out alive. But the wizard uses the force.
Epic wizard battle.
He pulls a ray from a.
Why did you say that?
No, but I mean it's a cool. He like stops the rocks and like everybody can get away, and they come down, and that's in scene, as they say there. We pick up back in Númenor we open on a beautiful shot of the tree.
The tree.
And we've talked about this tree before, Chris. This is the white tree that eventually ends up in Gondor, but
a seedling of it does, yeah.
Not the same tree, yeah. This is Nimloth of Númenor was a gift. It itself is a descendant of one of the trees, one of the two trees, and a descendant of this tree becomes the tree in Gondor.
Of which I have another thing to bring up about that later. So I got lots of Easter eggs and teasers for you guys coming up.
I like it. We cut to Farazan accusing Queen. Well, he's accusing Queen Muriel of allying with Sauron, but she's not in the room because Eregion is sort of like ringing the bells and getting everybody to come. Like, everybody gather.
So these are all the faithful, the supporters of Muriel, and he brought them here to slander her, basically.
Yes. I just don't know why the bells only call the faithful. Did the bells not, like,
I don't know.
I don't know. All the non-faithful are in the other room.
They're like, it's not a meeting for me. I'm going back to bed.
Yeah. All right, so let's keep talking about this real quick. Like this scene, and everybody's not happy. Like condemns them, and there's scenes of like all the Númenor army rounding up people and pulling them out of their homes and dragging them out. And
there's some really crucial information missing here. All he does is hand over a letter to the faithful, saying, "See, look, she's working with Sauron," and we don't get an explanation as to what suddenly. Seems to convince the faithful in their at least, acting appearance of, oh my gosh, she is like.
Yeah, like I read it on that scroll, so it must be true. Somebody signed it.
Like, like that cause like forgery. Like, how do you know this is really her handwriting? Or that was the first time where I was like.
Yeah. The problem I had with this scene was that we saw this whole previous episode where they have this elaborate thing with the sea dragon, and it seemed like at the beginning of that episode there was a lot of tension because Kemen had just killed Valandil and all this, and then at the end of all of that, it seems like there's going to be like an uneasy truce between the faithful and the king's men and Farazan, and that's probably actually what he prefers. So what is he like? Why is he stirring this stuff up at this point? And the only thing I can think of is if because I'm always approaching it from the lore standard, what needs to happen,
which is great.
Right? So at some point, there's going to have to be Farazan creating this giant armada, taking it to Middle Earth and bringing war on Sauron, and just annihilating his forces so badly that Sauron surrenders and gets taken prisoner back to Númenor. That needs to happen. What happens in the lore is that Númenor does continue to grow in might, and Farazan and ever proud and all, just like what we see. And then Sauron starts to declare himself the king of kings, the king over all kings, the king over everything in the world. And Farazan's like, no, this is not going to happen. Maybe that's kind of what they're leaning toward. And that some things later in the episode about the building of the Armada maybe kind of supports that. It just seems really strange that they would. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But they might just gloss over it too. They might still show like an epic type of battle and Sauron declaring himself, and then just kind of just gloss this over, because I'm getting that kind of feeling that they're capable of doing this. Vis-a-vis the Muriel scene, and why get it back to this truce if you're just going to immediately go and the last time we were in this room, Farazan seemed like he was irritated and didn't really want to be in this situation when he's accusing Elendil. And now that's all undone, and just like well, I mean, he did look into the Palantir, and he did have that vision. Yes. But another thing, so the vision we see
maybe isn't the full thing he sees, but he just gets visions of like it looked like I guess Halbrand or. So I just don't know how he can how he knows Halbrand Sauron, and then to make the connection. Well,
yeah,
Muriel must have been communicating with Halbrand via.
But where's the proof of that?
Zone.
Other than I saw it in the Palantir.
He's Sauron now, and I'm going to make the connection and make this letter and brand her.
Well, so okay, let's assume that he's not just lying. He's not just slandering Muriel, that he really believes the thing that he says. That fits in with what Palantirs do. Anytime that we see a Palantir being used by somebody that doesn't have the right to use it, or even really if they do, they can tend to be encouraged to come up with the wrong conclusion. Mm-hmm. Even though the thing that it shows you is true, you think the wrong thing about it. We see this with Saruman seeing that Sauron is definitely going to become the Lord, and then we've talked about Denethor sees the pirate fleet, the Corsairs arriving, and concludes that Minas Tirith is going to lose the battle, but it's actually Aragorn in those ships. And you can even say in a very minor way, Sauron himself suffers from this, because when Pippin gets the stone and looks into it, Sauron thinks it's Frodo and concludes Saruman has captured this hobbit to get the ring for himself. And he says to Pippin, tell Saruman that this dainty is not for him. Tell him I'm sending for it now, or something like that. And so even
Pippin.
Sauron comes to the wrong conclusion when he uses these things.
I love Pippin. He is my favorite Lord of the Rings character.
Who's Sauron?
I love him. No, Pippin.
Oh,
Pippin.
I love Pippin. Sauron.
Pippin's very lovable.
Yes, actually, after this episode, Sauron might be my favorite character. This whole Númenor plot line, it's driving me a little crazy. Like the whole, like you said it, Chris, like that whole last episode with the fish or the sea monster and her having to go through that. Then you didn't need any of it. Like it just all went out the window. Yeah. Because you feel like at the end of that episode, she's like now revered almost as much or on par with Pharazôn to be king, to be queen. Like there's a chance here she could take back her reign, and that all just is gone in like a hot second.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it could still make sense too, because I have a feeling that season 3 is necessarily going to have more of a Númenor focus. And I'm here for it. I'm anticipating seeing these events go down.
And now we've touched on the two not timelines, but storylines that I believed were basically like the weakest this season, to where it was very evident this season where the main focus needed to be, and that was Celebrimbor and Annatar. Simple. And we've seen throughout the season, there were some strong moments between, Gandalf and the halflings and some in Númenor. But now we're kind of starting to see in the finale the weak points of those weaker storylines, to where we're leaving some things behind, which is going to be good. We've moved some plot points forward with Númenor and getting to this point, even though things are a little bizarre with how it actually happened and what that means. But we're starting to leave a few things behind, which gives me hope for next season, where it's like, okay, we've kind of sped things up a little bit. Now we can move on to focusing the stronger storylines. We could have taken that extra time to focus on Númenor, which is going to be a really strong plot point in season 3.
Yeah, but well said.
Could have there been better ties on how things played out here in this Númenor area? I think so, but it's still pretty cool. We still get a great moment. We still get a great moment.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to lose my mind over this. This is just one of those things, and I'm just like, well, this doesn't really make all that much sense as to why they would do this. I'm not about to.
It's one of those things where it's like
people on the internet are doing, apparently.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to lose sleep over this. It just happens to be a very slight nitpicky thing that we're thinking of, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't care that much. I love all of this, despite its little flaws and inconsistencies. I don't give a shit. I love this.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. And but the tree doesn't like it. The tree shedding petals apparently can feel the faithful being swept away. are being rounded up. And Iarian all of a sudden has a change of heart. I don't know why. All of a sudden, this turn here.
I think
another moment of like.
It was
okay.
the reality of it setting in.
I guess
that I think gave her a little bit of a scare.
Does she really have a change of heart? I mean, this is not.
I don't think so.
To me, this isn't all that different to the scene of showing that despite her political beliefs, that she still loves her father. This is not different than when she visits him in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and from before that you can be politically against your father's beliefs, but yet want to save him at the same time.
I guess so. Good point. Yeah, I'll give you that. She goes and saves him. She tells him to hide. Then we cut to Elendil and Muriel having a conversation.
He's trying so hard to save her.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not fleeing the city. You could flee, you know. And because he's like packing his bag, and he's like, we can, if we escape it in the dark of night. And she's like, well, I don't know, I can't really see. And by the way, here's this really fucking cool sword.
Oh my gosh, we can't.
Here.
Whoa, you just glossed over that like it was no big deal.
No, I was gonna get to it. She calls it the Narsil, the White Flame, and. I think we can all assume this is the sword.
Yes, it is. That's its original name.
You sound like a boomer going on the Facebook.
Oh my gosh. That is the original name of the sword before it was broken.
Yes,
before
Narsil.
it comes
This is the sword. We've seen it before. If you
yes.
In the background
in season one.
In season one,
we
you can
have.
see
that was so cool.
Yeah.
I freaked out. Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
it's right by Galadriel at one point.
And the only reason you catch it is because they're using the same design with the hollow pommel from the Jackson trilogy, and it makes it look really distinct.
Yeah.
But this is the sword that was broken, the legendary, forged by Telkar in the depths of time.
Oh, I love the depths of time thing. It's so cool. Like, just the name alone is fantastic.
But and she doesn't really explain that here, does she? Right. She just says, like, take Narsil, the White Flame.
This is Narsil.
And he's like, oh, wow. And he does
cool sword. Well, cool and what's really cool, too, about that.
He's nerding out on it.
So, like, I get that sometimes, it gets annoying when, you reference back to the original movies and, stuff like that. But I felt that this parallel... This
does it for me.
This was one of the best uses of that, not only because... basically descendants, they both take this, pulling out the sword, taking a look at it, at its heft, its weight, and its meaning, and the way that it just like the flaming glow within the sword. They both did their own acting with it in their own way, but yet it mirrored each other so perfectly. The intensity of the meaning of the sword in before it's used to cut the ring and after it is reforged. And it's got to be one of the greatest parallels this show did.
Well, I mean, it's not just a contextual or what's the word here I'm trying to use. It's not just like a framing the shot the same way where you have, say, for example, Bilbo do something that in the, I don't know, Legolas did in the Lord of the Rings, or there's some unrelated characters or that sort of thing. It's those kind of moments when there doesn't seem to be any purpose other than just to remind you that you're watching the same sort of thing that you liked before. I mean, Elendil and Aragorn have a connection, like but that's his forefather, and he brings back the glory of the Dunedain and Aragorn, meaning Aragorn. So it seems to make sense to the story.
It really
not just to serve the film and to try to entice the audience. And the former, I think, is fine. The latter, that's what annoys me.
Yeah. And it's great too that the same hairstyle just sticks through all of time, and it's been funny to watch the internet go, I don't have a type, and then they put the photo of season 1 of Halbrand, Elendil, and Aragorn, like all have the same hairstyle, the dirt on the face, all these things. Like, I don't have a type, and then they just. I love the classic like ranger look with that. I love it.
Lord of the Rings really explaining. Like, I
How it
understand
was
that the
forged.
sword is. I understand the sword has meaning in the sense that it's the sword of kings. Take your rightful place, right? Like, I understand, but walk me through why in Numenor at this moment this sword has meaning and why she's giving it to.
Look, I read up on it
Elendil.
today, but I know Chris is going to do a way better job talking about this.
I mean, maybe not. This is one of those things that before this moment, there's not too much history. So you could speculate as to how it even got here, how it even got to Numenor. It's said that Telkar made it, and Telkar was a famous dwarf smith in the First Age. He, oddly enough, before the events of Lord of the Rings, probably more was said about the other things that he made. He made a knife named Angrist, and it said that that belonged to one of the sons of Feanor. I think actually that was it Curufin or Kel? I can't remember. There's two brothers. Curufin was the father of Celebrimbor. And he was all the time palling around with his. There were 7 brothers, but like these two, Curufin and Celeborn, were palling around, and they had the knife. Beren, in the story of Beren and Luthien, when they're on the quest to get a Silmaril from the Crown of Morgoth, they have an encounter with the sons of Feanor. They end up winning the fight, and he steals the knife and then uses the knife because it could cut through iron, just like it could cleave iron like it was green wood. You got this rich history of this knife that this dwarf made. He also made this sword, and Aragorn says that he made that it was wrought by Telkar. Doesn't give a lot of history about it.
Okay.
It kind of derives, as far as from Lord of the Rings go, from what you're familiar with, it derives its significance probably in this moment because it's significant as the sword of Elendil. And later,
the sword that cuts the ring. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
From his fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other than it's not necessarily famous yet. It has a history of being an artifact from probably the First Age. So it has meaning. It's not quite legendary.
It has a significant pedigree, but but nothing of this sword's deeds have been said, as far as I know. It's like it could be one of these things. Like, this sword has potential,
Right. So this moment is more for us watching than it is for Isildur or Elendil. There was it was a little like Muriel was sort of like, take the sword, she names it, and they made a big pageantry of it when it really probably didn't need that much pageantry for him. Does that make sense? He probably was like, oh yeah, I probably need a sword.
Right, not for him, but for us. Yes.
Yeah. Let's keep it going. So, the Elendil and Muriel don't kiss, even though I think they should. And Muriel stays behind. She's going to be the martyr. And Elendil leaves the city, and we get the shot that he sees in his Palantir, his vision of him riding off in the background. Numenor is we see smoke. That's Numenor. We get a little bit later we get a montage, but that's kind of the gist of where we are with Numenor. Things are not good. Pharazon's rounding up all the faithful. Elendil leaves and
fulfills his prophecy that he saw.
Mm-hmm. We cut to Eregion and the orcs. Eregion, Aragon. I don't know. It's one of those ones. The orcs continue to rain fire on the city. Meanwhile, orcs are going inside the city. So, in essence, they're raining fire down on their own orcs. I don't know.
Which is the very thing that they were so upset about. Yeah. And yeah. I mean, this is one of those things too. Like, the show kind of seems to get in its own way sometimes. They've established this thing, and I'm willing to go there with it, like with the whole thing of, if you think about this very decision that Adar makes in the previous episode as being like his sin that ends up being his downfall and turns the orcs against him.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of understand a little bit about kind of like, almost like they're fighting each other, accidentally killing each other, because Anatar talks a little bit later about the Uruks having, this bloodlust, basically, that it overtakes them, and it just, in a sense, go like feral because of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're overtaken by this thing that just kind of makes them rage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Galadriel's leading a group of elves out of the city. Mostly, it looks like women and children.
Mm-hmm.
And she's taken out orcs like butter. It's kind of she's a badass. We know this. It's cool. There's also some great shots of some of the last standing elven.
That guy sliding on the roof.
Elven archers, doing
that shot was
cool
so
stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, but in the end,
and then
way
he
too
died.
many orcs. Yeah. And it seems like Galadriel's going to get away and not only get away with the 9, but she's also going to save a few people. And we cut to inside the tower with Celebrimbor and Sauron. And probably my second favorite scene in the movie or in the show.
Yeah.
Look at what you have done to yourself. The scene opens with.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. And Celebrimbor's there, and he's riddled with arrows, and all non-vital places, just bleeding out.
Yeah.
And Sauron's demanding the location of the 9 rings. He's telling Celebrimbor, he'll stop his suffering, and Celebrimbor finally becomes himself again here. He kind of stands up to Sauron and his bullying a bit here.
This was really cool, and I learned too that I'm pretty sure it's all of the episodes were also directed by women, and I was thinking about that because somebody pointed that out to me, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense, especially visually and emotionally. Why the manipulation works so well is because not all the time, but a majority of the time, it's women getting manipulated or having these types of abusive relationships happen. So being able to see it done that well, and being able to feel it, especially after it gets written out in the script and other things, that the directors were able to convey it so well that everybody who's been in a situation like that is like, yep, that's exactly what it looks and feels like.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Celebrimbor he says a really great line here. He says, the rings will be your downfall, and he claims he actually names he drops the name. He says the thing. He drops the name of the book. He says, the rings will end up ruling you. You'll be its prisoner. You will be the Lord of the Rings.
I kind of wrote some of that down. The rings of power shall destroy you, and in the end I foresee one alone shall prove your utter ruin. Mm-hmm. And basically that he's enslaved to the rings. And that held a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. Especially as Celebrimbor basically prophesies. Because that's kind of what happens when, I think, like, when elves are near death.
There's lots of characters that happens in a lot, over and over in Tolkien. Mm-hmm. When
really?
That somebody has the foresight of death. Yeah.
So fans have been waiting for this all season, because as he continues to play with him, takes the arrows, pushes it a little bit to create pain as it, twangs back. He goes and picks up a spear and stabs him with it. And another cool fact about this, about Charlie Vickers, the emotion with his tears was not a planned thing. He felt those emotions in the moment because he believed that part of it is sad that he has to, I think he grew fond of Celebrimbor and is kind of sad about that ending. So that tear was very much not planned, but it felt right. But he kind of goes through, his prophesying, and, here's, basically what's going to happen. These are going to be your ruin, like, tearing him down, telling him truth. And Anatar stabs him and props him up against the wall. And the Uruks come in and see this, which is kind of like one of two things. This does happen in a way in the books. There is a nickname for Celebrimbor's death called Celebrim Banner. And the hope is that they take a continuation of all of the arrows and the spear and actually put it on screen at the beginning of next season, because what happens in the books is Sauron really does take his body up on that spear with all of those arrows and shows off Celebrimbor as a banner in war. That's what he does with his body.
Yeah.
So the hope.
Mangled body out there, just carrying it like a banner with his armies.
Wow.
Celebrim banner.
Wow. We've made dark references to this before.
Yeah, I remember you guys teasing me like it doesn't end well for Celebrimbor, and it's not it's worse than you think. And I guess I when you were telling me this, I was envisioning something way worse. But now that I know it does get worse, even from now, is good, because I thought what happened was pretty awful, and the visual of him being like lifted up high and with this elvish spear, and just like it's like, I was like, oh, that is awesome, but awful at the same time. Like, it was a great visual. It looked great. Props to the actors. And it's interesting you brought up when he starts crying, because it seems like the tears are falling right when he's telling him
that you're not going to get into basically elven heaven. I am, but you are not.
Right. Oh. And he went right after he calls him Lord of the Rings, like you see this tears fall. Like, it's almost like he believes him. Like,
can you imagine Sauron thinking about this moment when he's defeated again, thinking about these words that Celebrimbor is telling him?
I was like, man, if you left with anything in the show, getting here to this moment, him being finally killed by Sauron, where he really just destroyed Celebrimbor, not mentally and now physically. Like, this was just done, I thought, this was probably the most well-laid path the show had done from a story arc.
Their stuff together was the true
that was the strong
Silmaril of the season.
Yeah.
We cut to Pelargir with Pelargir.
Penguin.
Pelicans with gears. And we get a shot of Theo. I thought we were done with Theo.
I did too.
No, we get more Theo, and him and Isildur are having a moment talking about coping with guilt and of lost family and parents, and how Isildur felt guilty for the death of his mother, and obviously Theo feels guilty somehow for the death of his mother, probably because you were a little shit. Anyway,
I love your note
you should
here,
feel
though.
Guilty, actually.
I love your note here on our show notes where it says a hug. Really?
Then they have a hug, which was like, you guys have known each other for like 7 minutes.
I know.
You've had like 2.5 seconds of screen time, and they like hug it out like they're BFFs.
I don't know. I liked it because I just wanted to see. I was happy to see for once Theo not being just like a complete little shit, and returning kindness with just being that little turd. Yeah. But I suppose Drew probably thought that this was some sort of
they were going to kiss or something.
Romantic situation going to happen, and
if they kissed, I would have believed it more.
Though before Theo leaves the scene, one of my favorite things on the internet is people's theories about who Theo may end up being, but I genuinely enjoy being proven wrong, like I'll talk a little bit later about too. But these theories are really great, and my favorite one so far. Well, there was one. So I'll start with the kind of like the initial post that somebody said was they said, I have a theory. What if Theo is a predecessor of the King of Rohan, King Theoden, his sister Theodwyn, his son Theodred? I'm just saying, like, can it be just coincidental that his name is Theo if it's not symbolic to his future legacy? I was like, that would be interesting, but it's the next comment. The other half of my theory is that Theo becomes the oath breaker and the king of the dead that Aragorn calls up to assist in the battle in the Pelennor Fields. I was like, I would love it if that was him.
Yeah, that could be fun if that was done well.
That would be fun.
To build up these characters' relationship, to have him be betrayed, but it could go either way for me with that.
Yeah, there's some really cool theories. So
he's still carrying around that fucking sword that is like
the key to Mordor.
Yeah,
the Rube Goldberg
that's why I'm kind of
thing.
like,
you're
not going to be a good
it's a
person.
Trophy when it basically was the thing that destroyed like half his people, and I'm like, why are you carrying that fucking thing around? It's like imbued with dark magic. And I'm like,
that's what draws him to it. Like kind of like the rings, like it's a draw to that kind of like power and this cool thing that he just kind of like held on to, which is kind of like, I don't think he's going to end up being a good person. I think it would be fun to kind of like do what we think is going to be a character arc, and he does some really great things, but in the end he betrays everybody, and it's kind of like, I love that kind of thing. Not in the way Game of Thrones did it with the Lannisters, but like in a good, tasteful way of like, you had these seeds in the beginning of not being good and just an awful person. Oh, wait, you're actually kind of doing good things. Oh, wait, you're not. I appreciate that. I think that would be fun.
Yeah. Well, Theo leaves. Estrid shows up, and she's like, you know that guy who built a house for me and confessed his love, and we were a thing? I don't like him anymore. But you know who I do like? And Isildur kind of picks up on the vibe.
You got your kiss.
And I got a kiss.
Congratulations.
Sparkles! Yes.
Sparkles,
finally,
fireworks.
Some love on the show. Gosh. Jeez, you know.
I'm sorry. Was Durin and Disa not enough for you? They kissed in the opening.
That's true. They did, yeah. But I expected they're already married and husband and wife. I need like some
you need the new romance.
I need like the romance. Even though she's like committing adultery right now.
Basically.
But whatever.
Well, I mean, they technically broke up, but...
I mean, not really. He doesn't... It's not like she went and had a conversation with her boyfriend. It's like she was just kind of came in and confessed. Because he does hold her hand there at the end, so it's like... I know. So it's like, did he get broken up with? There's a whole awkward scene at the end of the show. I won't get into it. It's not good. It's not a good moment. This show's pretty up and down for me, this episode so far. And I think you could tell there's great moments and then just some really questionable things. They share a kiss, and he's like, you have to come with me to Númenor. And she's like, oh yeah, maybe. I'll just up and fucking leave. We get a shot of ships arriving to town, and Kemen comes off the ship. This kid, we
just
can't get rid of him.
Every scene, you think you can't hate him anymore, and then they take you there.
Yeah. Well, and the realization of, oh, you're alive. Wait, that's the only reason your sister is doing the things that she's doing and that she maybe likes me is because you died and it's Muriel's fault.
Oh yeah, he gives Elendil a big hug, like, oh my god, I can't believe you're alive. And then when the moment Elendil like drops any sort of like status, like the moment he's like, hey, I kind of want to bring this hot chick that I found on this.
He's like, you have a girl.
Isildur, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, Isildur.
And I'm not just trying to nitpick, but like Elendil's drop in status is a topic of conversation here, so I was trying to be clear what we're.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Isildur is dropping status, and Kimin does not like it. He's like, no. In fact, the queen isn't the queen. My dad's in charge. Your dad's in jail. And he's like, and Isildur did not like that. There was a bit of a kerfuffle.
Yeah.
And Kimin continues to just bark orders.
When he threatens that horse, I thought Aundawyn's going to lose it.
I was.
Yeah.
Once he did the threat, I was sitting there like, don't you dare. Because, I mean, he went, like, Isildur went and praised, Barracles, the reason, I'm alive. And the horse is just like, that's right. It's me. I was like, right. That's right, buddy. But there's two things with this. The first one, the fact that Ulmo freaking allowed Kemen to cross the sea alive is astounding. Almost basically like we talked about him. Yeah, so he's like one of the gods basically, when we talked about the rings. Oh my gosh, I forgot the boat craftsman, his name. But when he went, Círdan, we needed more of him. When Círdan went to throw the rings into the water and the rings got knocked back into the ship.
We're speculated that this could be like the influence of Ulmo,
And so I'm like, first of all, why did Ulmo just let Kemen cross the sea unharmed? And the other one was, we all have fun still playing with Kemen's fate. It could be as simple as next season, because he threatens to cut down all the trees because they're just trees. That's either foreshadowing that he's going to be bitch slapped by probably Winter, or one of the Ents is just going to just tear him apart. Or how about a fate worse than death if he is the mouth of Sauron? And then just getting his head suddenly lopped off by Aragorn would be an amazing way to have him die. That would be phenomenal. But I think he's going to get torn apart by a tree.
You're hitting on the major problem with this theory is how to make him live that long.
Exactly.
And have him not be one of the 9.
Yeah. I don't think he's cool enough to be one of the 9.
Yeah, I don't want anything like that. Just a satisfactory death, humiliation, something.
So either outlandish theory or the realistic one.
Yeah, I don't want him to have any prominence in any lore. Like, that's how much I hate his character. In fact, it's like I just kind of want him to like fall off and like die from like something stupid, like I tripped and I fell and like I hit my head on a rock. Like the most mundane shit ever.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't even have to die. Like I could see him being the recipient of pity and mercy, and then like having to like scrape away a living as a rat catcher, and
that'd be so funny.
That's
a good point. Yeah.
Not to impugn exterminatitors.
Yeah.
So internet, I love talking with you about these outlandish theories, and I hope someday one of them come true. That would be great.
Me too.
I would love it.
Well, whatever happens to Kemen, he's going to be trading timber for food. I guess. He's blackmailing everybody at Pelargir to listen. If you want to eat, you got to cut down wood. We're going to build an armada.
They're
which
just trees.
Which you may have answered this already, Chris.
I think so. Yeah.
The armada is something.
This is where my head's going with it. Is Ar-Pharazôn has to bring war against Sauron at some point in the story, and that's the only thing that it ties into is as to why he's doing this. Yeah.
We're back, and we're at the. We cut to Galadriel.
Actually, it doesn't. Because Isildur's going to go back with him. But this also leads into a trope that we're going to get, is the trope of just missing somebody. Because we see Elendil leave. He's gone. By the time Isildur's going to get there, figure out everything that's going on, meet with his sister. We have no idea where she is. Muriel, he left. He's not going to see his dad for a while. We know he's eventually going to have to get, and inherit Narsil and, all the stuff he's going to have to establish later. But be prepared, everybody. If you hate that trope, it's going to happen. There's no way around it. So be prepared.
We see that shit. We see him leave in a montage, in a little bit. And Galadriel is caught. She exits the cave. We think she's going to escape with all her friends that she saved from Eregion, but no. All the orcs are waiting for her, and a lot of orcs, actually. There was a hot minute where I was like, she could take them, and then I was like, nah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's too much risk with all of the women and children she promised Celebrimbor to save.
Yeah, and she makes a deal. She's like, let them go. I'll surrender to you. And I'm kind of thinking, like, you don't really have anywhere to, you don't have any negotiating power here, lady.
And
but,
you forgot about the rings.
Yeah.
I'll give you 9 reasons.
Yeah, that's true. The orcs take Galadriel into Adar, and we see Adar. He turns around. He's holding he has the ring on his finger, and he looks like
newborn
himself. He's no longer the orc face, blue, crusty.
He was beautiful. You take that back. I will say, like, talk about edging, because we have been teased and, trying to figure out who Adar is, who was he, how long has he been alive, all of these cool things. And then he just says, my name is of no consequence. I earned the name Adar. And I think I could hear all of the nerds screaming, tell me your name. Because everybody wanted to know his name. And we know it's kind of like basically created for the show, but like, I was still really mad that he was like, my name doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little nervous in that moment that he was going to, and I didn't want it to be revealed that he's some character that we know. But if I think about that, it would have to be a character from the Silmarillion, and we don't. They can't use characters from the Silmarillion that aren't also in Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. So that's why we're kind of like, well, we know why you can't tell us your name, but like, just like even just a silly name, and it doesn't amount to anywhere would have been fun. Just to like, especially because all the names have meanings. It could have been some sort of name that they made up to mean something kind of relevant in a way. I thought would have been a nice gesture, but it also kind of made sense that he's like almost like
his mama didn't name him father when he was born.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to have that he earned a name for himself, because I can connect to that. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty on par for his character. To not give a shit, like when she asked, like when he talks about it, he's like, I earned this name, my name is Adar. I thought that was really a good character moment. And he makes a deal with Galadriel, and he says, you help me defeat Sauron, let this ring be, I'll give you the ring back, let the ring be the bridge between, that unites, orc and elf, and once Sauron's defeated, we'll go back to Mordor and we'll have peace. And he even, Galadriel even confesses, I've killed more of your brothers than anybody, right? She kind of, she drops the hammer. I was like, oh, damn.
You really want to try to make an alliance with me?
Yeah. I thought that was interesting that she, was that brutally honest. But again, they're both having a very tender moment, and it seems like there's going to be, a partnership here, right? She has the ring, he has the crown. I still don't understand how the ring and the crown are going to be able to take down Sauron. I guess
essence of evil.
I guess because the crown killed him once, they could kill him again. I don't know.
And we've kind of seen too the effects that being hurt by the crown can do to somebody. Yeah,
but if you're like a good guy,
maybe I don't know.
And so we see orcs carrying in a wounded soldier, wounded orc, and on a stretcher, and Adar goes over to console and give him,
Well, it's his right hand man.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's the guy. It's the what did you call him last week, Chris?
The orc problem orc.
The orc problem orc. Yeah, the one who cares about his family. The one was so mad that he decided to send in the troll. Send in the hill troll.
Yeah.
He got real mad about that. Didn't like that call.
Yeah.
And Sauron has corrupted these orcs that we saw in the tower. They arrive. We don't really quite know what he says to them. It was cut before, so we don't really know how he convinces them. But I'm assuming we all know Sauron can pretty much convince anybody.
He does call them Uruk, which we've seen that they have that's what they prefer to be called, even though that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. But still, I don't know. Yeah. And we've seen him had plenty of fuckery with Celebrimbor and other people now that we need to see. We know what he's capable of.
Well, and I think we didn't need to see it in the sense that it would have taken away from the surprise attack.
Yeah, true. You don't know that.
I guess. No. Yeah.
Because we're like, crap, he stabbed him. Like, that sucks. And then, oh, crap, he stabbed him.
Yeah. He gets a lot of stabby McStabbersons here. This is very overkill in the stab department, but also a parallel to what happened with Sauron, right? Like Sauron had the same.
I had my outlandish theories, about Adar, but my normal theory was just he has Morgoth's crown. He's gonna die so Sauron can have it. There's no other way he would give up the crown, and so I hate that we kind of saw this coming. Yeah. But also we didn't get how he would die, and I thought that this was really sad.
Yeah. I didn't care for the way they handled this character. Well, or let me put it another way. I liked the way they handled the character throughout the season. I don't like the way they ended his character. I thought it should have more weight. Or more meaning.
I mean,
do we know he's actually dead?
Oh, he did.
He did. Yeah.
No, I guess I don't know. We shook it to anything with some sort of new power or something. But to On's point, we know that Sauron gets the crown. We know that Sauron leads the orc armies, and so there has to be some sort of transition. It seemed a little sudden to spring it in the last episode, with only hinting mildly at it in the episode preceding this one.
This was where I was like, where my time kind of got consumed, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's daylight. We haven't seen a Rondir. And that's when I started freaking out. Anyways.
Yeah. That's all on cares about. Kill Adar, whatever. But now, where the fuck is Rondir?
Where's Rondir?
He's dead. He died in the last episode, we all think, right? No, but Adar, I don't know. But he's dead. Galadriel just shocked, standing there, walks behind her. Sauron walks behind her, picks up the crown.
Yeah.
And she sees a sword on the ground, and the fighting commences between Galadriel and Sauron. And it's a pretty climactic duel here. It's very one-on-one. You get the sense that Sauron is more calm and cool in this fight. He definitely feels more balanced. She seems really just disheveled,
She's been through a lot.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting fight, and not only visually because Sauron is manipulating her by changing form. It looks like he changes into. Is that her brother? Are we to assume?
No, that was
Halbrand
form.
Oh, that was Halbrand?
Yeah.
Oh man, he looked way different.
Well, it's the change in hair.
Okay.
Of which,
I thought for some reason I was like, because didn't he kill her brother? So I thought he was trying to manipulate.
I think Morgoth.
It was wolves actually.
Oh my gosh, that's right. The wolves.
And it's in the Beren and Luthien story where where Morgoth or it's actually Sauron keeps sending in wolves to eat one prisoner at a time, because it's Beren and a bunch of elves in there, including Finrod, and then it's just those two that are left. And Sauron has already figured out that Finrod, Galadriel's brother, seems to be the most important person here, but none of them are really telling who they are. So he's saving him for last. But Finrod has sworn to protect Beren. So when the last wolf goes to kill the last person that's not Finrod, he fights the wolf and kills it, but dies himself in the process.
That's right. That was
he had blonde hair, all the Finarfin kids have blonde hair, like when we saw him before. Yeah,
because it fits along the line of him saying it wasn't all an illusion or it wasn't all a deception, and that's when he turns into Halbrand, appealing to her, kind of like crush basically on Halbrand.
Yeah, and then he does a couple more fight scenes. He turns into Galadriel. So Galadriel's fighting Galadriel.
This is a kiss I would have liked to see.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah, why not? And then he turns into Celebrimbor.
This is also a kiss. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Drew thought was going to happen.
I know. I thought they were going to get it on, but no.
It's too easy to joke about this, but I really need to stop bringing this up.
It's so funny, though. I think this deception is really cool, though. The way that he just is able to just shift and change like that was very just a nice fluid movement to show kind of like that, like, yeah, he is seeming more, like that calm, cool, collected, but he's also gaining more power. And that's what's really fascinating.
And as a lore nerd too, I enjoyed seeing him do this because you have to think like, enjoy this while you can, while you can still do this, buddy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean it's a good fight. Galadriel, they kind of exchange blows. Galadriel seems to take a few blows to the shoulder or to the leg. She kind of gets a few blows on Sauron.
I actually really liked that the cuts seemed not bad because they were hitting each other for the most part. Like, it was kind of hard to hit Sauron, so she got lucky with that shot. But for her, like, two things. One, it shows the construction of her, like, basically at this point, it's kind of like leather armor in like that kind of sense. It showed that it was still protecting her and there were no like basically killing blows. But also that Sauron doesn't want to kill her. He still thinks that he can try and convince her to be by his side. So not only is her armor protecting her from even deeper cuts and even more grievous wounds, he's also not trying to harm her that much. Which is why when he eventually is able to take the crown and stab her, it's not by her heart. It's not like a really big organ. It's kind of like that fleshy area that Frodo was also stabbed, that misses a whole bunch of vital organs. So yeah, he doesn't want to kill her.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I didn't consider that. I mean, obviously he wants to know, he wants the ring. Like, he keeps asking for the ring. He's like, give me the ring.
But if he could get Galadriel on his side, things would be a lot easier.
Yeah, and he does mention that. When he does, to your point, he does eventually overcome her. He does stab her with Morgoth's crown, and it does not look good for her. And he pleads one last time, and he sort of says, like, you could have been the queen. I would have, like, burned down. I would have done anything for you. I would have rained destruction for you. And the 9 rings fall out of her breastplate or whatever, her outfit.
Her like collar. Yeah.
Her collar that she tucks them in, and he picks them up. She stands up, and there's a moment where you think he is in her brain, right? He says to Galadriel, give me the ring, and she stands up, and it appears that he might have control over her.
That was cool.
And she starts to look like she's going to hand her the ring, and she closes her fist, and she falls backwards off of a giant fucking cliff.
Yeah, well, before you get to that, I just want to call attention to what they say here, that he says the door is still open, and she says the door is closed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which trying to okay, and now continue.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, and implying, and that was kind of a turn of the tide too, because it did seem like he implied that he can kind of almost he kind of implied that I'm inside your head. I know every move you're going to make in a way. Like he could see her fight moves before she was going to make it. Like there's a little bit of like clairvoyance happening there. And then she sort of like the door is shut, and it kind of feels like she gets an upper hand. Like she can now fight with like without him having as much. It felt like the battle became more equal
so than,
in that
more so
moment.
than just fighting. He's trying to still seduce her, and he's trying to play upon the part that he is hidden inside of her that wants the power that he offers, and he's saying the door is still open to that.
That's what she does.
By saying the door is shut, that this is something that she says to Frodo. That when she's talking about the rings, it's when he first noticed that she's wearing a ring, and she says, don't think that only by singing amid the trees and this, or even the slender bows of the elves, is this land defended. Like even now, as I speak to you, I can perceive the Dark Lord's mind, or at least all of his mind that is concerned with the elves, and he's constantly trying to probe and see my mind, but he can't. The door is shut, and she sticks up her hand like in a motion of rejection. And he sees the ring, and he realizes, so she can see what his thoughts are, but also use this to kind of keep him out too. So that's
never mind.
This is way better. Shut is like better. Yeah,
that is better. Yeah. Didn't even think about that. That is brilliant. There was someone online too, who said like, I wonder what the long lasting side effects will be from being stabbed with Morgoth's crown. And they put the images of Galadriel when she's being tempted by the ring. And I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. She falls off the cliff, and then we cut to Elrond, Gil-galad, and Arondir.
Okay,
your boy are captured.
I was
by orcs.
Very happy to see him alive, but this is where another section where I was like, we're missing a scene. We see later that Gil-galad, like, the healing qualities seem to just be kind of an elven related thing. That I can agree with. Totally fine. Makes sense. Because, Arwen does it, other things. Why didn't we get 3 seconds, just like a small little thing of him healing Arondir? Very clearly he's going to be the one that does it with the ring. Like, he seems perfectly fine after being stabbed twice and looking like he's going to die. We needed something to connect the dying person we saw to, everything's cool now. I just needed a drink of water.
I know.
Yeah, he seems fine.
I was thrilled that he's alive because I was going to be fucking pissed if he was dead. There's also a really cool Easter egg in this too, with Elrond and Gil-galad's armor. Mm-hmm. It's the 2 trees, the gold and the silver tree, on both of their chest pieces.
So like one has Laurelin and one has Telperion, I guess you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Thought that was really beautiful. Yeah, very appropriate.
That's cool. That's really cool. It looked great.
Yeah.
We get a shot of the so they're captured, and they're brought before to the big courtyard, and they are about to burn all of Celebrimbor's works, and Elrond is losing his mind.
Yeah,
he's like,
rightfully
you're
so.
about to burn the entire history of Celebrimbor's work and all
so
of the
many
city.
other things. Like, there's so much history in those scrolls that is just now going to be lost.
He literally says, "Kill us, but let the knowledge live." Like that. That's how much he believes.
That's
in
wild,
that.
man.
Yeah. I was like, that is awesome. Like that was a great moment. The orcs, let's burn it anyway.
Yeah. They're like, you're in pain. You don't want us to do this. Guess what? Yeah, that really hurt.
I couldn't help but think of you, Chris, because it was like the moment here where it's like they did all this work trying to humanize these orcs in a way of like,
it's the bloodlust thing.
We just want to go and live in Mordor, and we're gonna burn all this knowledge. You fuckers.
It's the adrenaline. It's the everything going along with it, and it's turning. Like, you know what's interesting that I'm thinking about just now is, so we see, we've talked about, the difference between the Uruks we're seeing now and the orcs that we see later. I I think we're starting to see the influence Sauron is having on them already, because they are turning into this frenzy, like, mess to the orcs that we have, come to know and love in the trilogy. So I think that that's the start of the visual change and influence in their actions, because now Sauron has control and Adar's gone.
I think I've maybe overplayed my hand talking about the orc problem here a little bit.
No.
Because let's make no mistake, they've been monsters all along.
I mean, yes.
But
the humanity thing.
Yeah, it's just a little more complicated than
yes.
that. And I know I just literally called them monsters. And I'm thinking of the horror scene when Bronwyn's like in the cupboard and that's truly terrifying. But really, to the whole point is they aren't in fact monsters. Mm-hmm. They are some type of people, but they are bred for slaughter and plunder, and they are bent toward those things. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And now that kind of action is being influenced even more so.
Chris, is this, or on it too, is this, this is well known, all this knowledge in the books is like lost, and like, is this something that we all knew was coming, like, when the town burns, and like all of Celebrimor's works is sort of gone? Like, is this kind of why, like, when you see I guess when we're in Lord of the Rings era and someone hands somebody an elvish whatever it is, right? Like when Frodo's handed the sword, like it feels more like, oh wow, like those are pretty rare, right? Like an elvish weapon crafted, sort of. Is that what we're getting at? Because that knowledge has been lost. There's no craftsmen
I think what they're trying to do
anymore
is to establish that you can't just have records of how the Rings of Power were made laying around so that anybody can just come and do it.
Okay, that is pretty fucking good. I like that. I'll take that 100%. We're actually on the cliff when Sauron is overlooking. And they hear the horns, the battle cry of the dwarves, and the dwarves arrive, and with their crossbows and are just taking out all the elves or all the orcs. The elves join in the battle. We see Arondir finally back in action, like nothing ever happened, doing his kung fu.
But I was grateful for that. I wanted that back. But this was one of the moments that I was very grateful that I was wrong, that the dwarves did show up, because in the last episode I talk about the potential quote from Elrond, they stay in their mountains with their riches. If they meet each other, if they don't show up. I was very, very grateful that I was wrong, especially when the dwarves show up, and I think I don't know if it was either just a random elf or if it was Narvi, I think it was Narvi, where Elrond's like, Durin? And he's like, oh, he's up in mourning. And he was so hopeful that was Durin, but also the look of relief that he had, knowing that his friend had his back, even if it was a little later than it should have been. The relief that Elrond had, and I had, for being wrong, was really great. So keep proving me wrong. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Subvert my expectations.
And while everything's going on, Galad sees Galadriel falling from the cliff with his keen eyes. And they run over, and him and Arondir are the first to arrive, and I don't know how she survived that fall.
This is what I was prepared for. It's the ring.
The ring.
It's the ring, because it's got that healing ability. It's giving her more of that than she needs. So, like, she hit a couple branches clearly on her way down, but I think the ring, gave her additional strength that she would need to basically survive that, because not only do we know she has plot armor, but I think that was part of the reason too that that the writers gave the rings visually that it can heal, especially early on in the episode, was to prove a point later so she could survive that. And I love how you try so hard.
You are incredibly good at Like, listen, I will pick this thing over here and this thing over
and
here.
I will make
You
it
want
make
a little
sense.
this
I
thing
will
off a
wrap
shelf?
it in a
I'm
bow.
gonna pour it into this thing.
Call
and
me
fucking stir it
Anatar
up
because
and,
I'm the gift.
Like, yeah, like no.
I will make it make sense, and I don't care.
All they have to do, it's real fucking simple in a TV show, a movie. Listen, if you're out there and you're making TV shows or a movie or
Don't
anything,
make me work this hard.
Make it make the character, show the character do something that makes that feel okay. We all know. Have you guys seen Rambo?
No.
The first Blood, the first one.
The first Blood.
Yeah, it's the best one.
It's the best one. He's on the cliff.
I'm too young.
There's a helicopter. There's a guy in a helicopter trying to snipe him off the cliff, and he's like hundreds of feet in the air, and there's a forest canopy below him, and you're thinking like he's smart enough, and you understand, and it shows he uses the branches to break his fall, right? Like the movie shows you how he could survive such a thing, right? And it shows that thought process before he does it in his head. He's looking down, he calculates that, right? There's moments that show you, okay, this is the character being smart, not just like, I'm gonna hope I make it, like in like.
I wonder if she didn't expect to make it. I don't know if she would have cared.
Or Galadriel, but either way, like, make us think she doesn't want to live. Therefore, we feel the suspense of her wanting to die. Like, it failed for me on both accounts. Like, she wasn't smart enough to it didn't the show wasn't smart enough to make her break her fall on her own, right, to survive that. And B, I didn't feel like she was like willing to die, just to keep the ring away from something. Like, otherwise just fucking throw it off the cliff. I don't know. Like I don't know. It just
I'm with.
This
I'm
is
with
where
you,
I have
Drew.
real
Drew's spiraling, awkward.
I actually felt something similar. I was watching this and thinking, like, is this why is she going to jump off, and how does she survive? And I get it. I would have liked to have seen something that kind of makes it feel like that it could make sense, so that I don't have to, at least meet me like halfway here, so that I don't have to like Aundawyn the story for you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to like come up with like magic ring powers and
I can be like, well,
and like I just
Sauron clearly doesn't want to kill her, and we've seen that he can basically manipulate people like the Force, so he just stopped her from falling, and that explains why they weren't fighting all elf style. So now everybody's happy.
Look, there's a reason that I am driven by emotion and not logic.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, and I think that makes for a better television watching experience.
It does. It's great
because you can have suspension of disbelief. The suspension of belief, it works better for some people than it does for me.
That's exactly how I function.
I need you to be a smart storyteller for me to want to care or understand.
And
the plot points.
Amongst my joking, that I totally understand, because it's cool too, because I do have that like suspension of belief. I like to just be like enveloped in it. I don't think about those kinds of things. But then being able to do like discussions like this, I'm like, oh, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
Especially like we were talking about like how they were fighting or, just like other random stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't even cross my mind.
It's great because we can talk.
Exactly.
And
that's why I love it.
And we each have different opinions on things, and that's why we have these discussions. Because I don't want my opinion to judge. Like, other people could be like, yeah, Drew, you're stupid.
But I will Aundawyn logic my way out of anything.
Too, Yeah, listen, because I do that defending Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? I come up with the same excuses, or even Star Trek. Well, on the transport, do pretty crazy things, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I always bring it up because I want. If anybody's listening, if you're a writer on the show, you're probably not listening to this. You probably turned it off an hours ago because you hate me for ragging on the show.
No, they're watching it because they love me.
But all I ask is like put a pin in it, like show a little bit of something. It doesn't have to be much, but just show me that the character is clever enough to like get out of their own problems and not have plot armor to be the thing that saves them, right? Anyway,
just a minor point about this: not the sort of survival whole thing, but just the scene itself. Did either of you think about when Elrond jumps off the cliff?
Yes.
Do you think this is like a callback to that, or
yes.
or like a like a rhyming sort of
I
scene
didn't
with
think
that,
about
because isn't he trying to jump off the cliff to keep the rings away from the elves, and now
Yes.
she's doing the same thing to keep the ring away from Sauron?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I did think that.
Because like you might as well ask the question, like, why have it up on the cliff at all? Why does she need to get away by jumping off the cliff at all? Nevertheless, did they do a good job of explaining why she survived? And I think that like that's probably what they're trying to do. Anyway,
that was interesting.
That's all I had about that.
So Galadriel's on the ground. They reveal that the crown has infected her with like some dark
losing
magic.
her soul to like the shadow realm, basically.
Yeah, and Gil-galad's like, I can heal her, and he's doing a little elvish prayer there.
That was
I'm not
real.
sure exactly what he's saying.
That animation of it kind of like go like through the veins, just kind of like going down and then going back, more intense.
Yeah, that was cool.
And like Gil-galad just kind of like, guys, I can't fix this. And Elrond just being this, has the ring and is like, but I can, and puts it on and does it, because I think it's this specific ring that has like a very intense connection, especially with like the healing innate abilities. It's kind of like, in my mind, it's almost like Gil-galad has like, the ability for foresight and, these other things. The ring intensified that ability in what I've been able to understand, or at least my interpretation. Speaking about it earlier, pretty much all the elves kind of have an ability to heal in their own way. And even Chris brought this up several episodes ago, talking about Elrond and his healing capabilities. And that's exactly what I was reminded of here when he's like, I can do it though. And I like that kind of callback to our episodes talking about that, and having Elrond have his moment to heal her.
Yeah, I definitely think about Elrond as being the healer. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely like I saw it two ways. Either it takes two rings to heal her, and he was weighing the decision to put on the ring, knowing he was so adamant not to use the rings, like because of their corruption.
Yeah.
And I saw that, or he kind of put two and two together, that like, oh, I'm the X factor here. My healing abilities with the power of the ring will be able to. So like, I kind of, either way it works.
Yeah.
But we don't actually see them do the healing. It kind of cuts away as he's putting the ring on, which was like I thought kind of a clever touch. Yeah. Like we know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That was one of those clever things of, you don't have to explain it, because you've already implied what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Most of the time they do that, and it's nice. Every now and then, I could use a little bit more. We cut to the Harfoot village, and I love this scene.
Village, surely.
Yeah, they're kind of like picking shit up. They're not really rebuilding. They're kind of like, where's this, where's that? Everybody's kind of like lining up to say sayonara.
And Poppy lives.
Decided that,
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
go spray paint
so far. This season, I'm currently incorrect.
In the 60s, Frodo Lives started to appear as graffiti in the New York subway.
Did it really? Why?
Because college kids were reading Lord of the Rings for the first time after it was published, and it became this like unexpected like.
That's hit. So cool.
Yeah.
Hit? Oh wow. Yeah. There's a nice. Poppy is having a nice moment with Nori and Nobody, and Poppy has a great little speech here, and we get a nice montage. She starts out saying some things are lost forever, and then we start to see the dwarves mourning the King Durin. They're mourning at the throne. We cut to Theo, who's still just brooding there by the water with his sword. God, why is he still here? And then we cut to Isildur on the boat, leaving staring at his love, who is holding hands with the guy who had an awkward moment when he tried to take his wife on a boat across the sea.
He's like, I win now. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, it's like, what's happening here? Did we need this? This show cannot do love. Like, just stop. Okay, you're breaking my heart.
Your hope has been brought up too much,
and where you're giving it to me, it's not working. So I don't know. Just, I'm with you guys. Like, get rid of it all on this show,
except with the dwarves.
Except
don't you dare.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the love that you're talking about isn't really there.
Yeah,
it's not. It's not there.
To your point, yeah.
Rolling to Galadriel.
I know what you're
that's the only thing. I need to stop talking about this. I really
do. It's a bit.
I tried not to talk about it. You got so mad last time.
Yeah.
But we got mad.
Yeah. Muriel, we see a glimpse of Muriel being charged with treason in front of Pharazôn.
Oh, gorgeous handcuffs again.
Yeah.
They matched her outfit. Like, seriously, how, like, kind of them handcuffs. To match outfits.
Yeah, absolutely. We get a glimpse of in the montage Sauron he has his rings and is staring off into his yet to be conquered Middle Earth. And Nori and the stranger have a nice moment here.
Well, before Nori and the stranger talk, Nori is kind of like helping like pack and clear stuff away, and what ends up being Gandalf's staff, she takes it and just pushes it off to the side because it's a random branch. And he ends up, that's the staff he ends up picking up later. Because I saw that there, and I thought, heck.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the staff. The Nori kind of says, like, hey, we got to go our different ways. And you get the sense that the stranger Gandalf here doesn't. He's kind of like, okay, I guess, I don't know. It kind of felt like he kind of wanted her to kind of come with him, but she's like, I got to lead these people to, or they don't know anything about traveling. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of like,
This is true to Nori's character. I mean, she sort of takes the stranger under her care when he's very infant-like and he
lost.
Needs her, and now that he's able to survive on his own, she'll go with whoever needs her the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was very grateful of the parting of ways. Not that I didn't like the Harfoots or, that whole thing. I think they could have done more with it. I don't know what. It just kind of, I felt a little disconnected from that for some reason. Still have yet to pinpoint why. I just kind of was. But I was very grateful of them splitting, like, the paths that they're going to go down, because Gandalf's going to live a lot longer than, the halflings. And he's got a lot of work to do on himself, learning a little bit more about who he is, what he's going to become. I think in the books, Gandalf spends like 2,000 years or something with Tom. And I mean, clearly it's not what's going to happen here, because you can't do that. But he's got a lot to do, and it's not the kind of environment that Nori's going to thrive in. Is him figuring that out, potentially doing more battles, fighting Sauron. It's just not something that's going to happen. So I appreciated that little tie, and them going their separate ways, because now we can have a story focus now on Gandalf and what that's going to bring, instead of the journey to get there. Now we can actually get there.
Yeah, part of me was like, interesting that they decided to break these characters up. I actually kind of liked their dynamic. I thought they
did.
Were like,
it's a great dynamic.
I thought as two actors, I don't know. They were the comedy of the show in a way, which I kind of enjoyed when they were on screen together. And I thought
they were great.
They wrote the two characters bounced well off each other. So I'll be interested to see how they handle that in season 3, if they
Yeah.
find their way back to each other, or if they truly will never kind of meet up again until maybe later in a comeback.
I mean,
think it would be
I mean, if
cool.
there's ever a character to get involved in Hobbit's business and then disappear and then show back up in Hobbit's business, it's Gandalf.
Well, and that kind of leads me to my, like, a really cool way to tie that all together, because we know that, the Shire is going to, it's part of their like little prophecy that they had, and they're like, no, we haven't found anything, we've been wandering for years and years and years. I think it would be really cool at some point, during the next 3 seasons, I don't care when, that Gandalf basically fully realized as himself, goes to find Poppy and Nori and finds them basically in construction building the Shire, and he goes and helps a little bit. I think that would be really cool. We don't need like a storyline. We just need like almost like a wrap up type episode where Gandalf goes and just says hello to them, finds them, and they have a, some nice, tea, smoking some Tobies, something.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap that up in a good way. It would be a good payoff
for them introducing the concept of the Harfoots forever looking for the Sousa.
The stranger stumbles upon his staff, and I think at this point we all kind of know, right? That this is the Gandalf.
We all knew, but we got it solidified.
Yeah, we get it solidified, and then he heads to Tom Bombadil's, and Tom Bombadil's is like, I know my name.
Well, technically, because what I really appreciated though was Gandalf at the moment is like, that's what they're going to call me, isn't it?
I agree. I appreciate this too, because Gandalf is just the name that the men in the North give him. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the dwarves call him something different, the elves, everybody. So just that little like nod to his future self, knowing that he's going to be called something different until then, was really nice, because that was also a genuine kindness to all of the other nerds who were like, Gandalf the name Gandalf doesn't exist for, this amount of time. And for them to say, we know that. We may have given you the person, but they'll be known as something else. But now you know who the character is that you've grown to know and love in the future.
Yeah.
So with that logic, do you think he'll be giving a name, be going by Gandalf in season 3, or do you think he will be given another name that he'll like? Will Tom call him Gandalf, or will Tom call him?
I think so. I wonder if Tom knows one of his current names, or he'll be given a name by Tom, or given a name by whoever he goes to help next. But I don't think we're going to be referring to him in the show as Gandalf.
I don't think that we're going to be monkeying around with the idea that he's the stranger anymore. And instead we'll be doing the same thing over the Dark Wizard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But some Gandalf Mithrandir appropriate name.
Okay.
I forget the dwarf name. What is the dwarf name for Gandalf?
Oh, I read it earlier today because I was curious.
Thorkun is the Kudsal dwarf name.
Why did I think it started with an O? Weird.
Olorin is what you're thinking of, probably.
Yeah.
Which that's his actual name as a Maya, and when he lived in the West in the Undying Lands.
But yeah, that was a good way to finally have that answer. Even though at the season finale of season 1, I said that's Gandalf, and I thought everybody knew that, and then I started questioning myself and being like, oh wait, nope, maybe it's not, and then I was convinced myself it was a blue wizard, and then here we are.
We get a nice little song between Tom and Gandalf singing.
Oh, it's the Tom Bombadil
song.
I love it.
It's pretty good. It was great. It was probably one of my top favorite scenes of the show right there.
That song is great.
And we get a shot of the Dark Wizard as the song singing, because it pans up to the stars. Looks like there's like an arrow being pointed like down on Tom, and then the stars shift slightly, and it's the Dark Wizard looking, and
Did anyone
he sees
else
the same scarf.
think that the Dark Wizard's staff looks like the tower with the Eye of Sauron in the middle?
Oh,
Because
I
that's
didn't
totally
think
what it
that,
looks
but,
like.
But now that you say that, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It totally does.
Mhm.
Thought that was cool.
Yeah, so I guess that'll be the next mystery. Like the show can't not have a mystery on who someone is.
Apparently.
So next season we'll be wondering who the Dark Wizard is and whether or not it is Saruman. Which, I mean, at this point,
I'm going to say no. Just right here, I'm
the-
going to say no.
The over/under is probably pretty high.
Or
on
I don't
those.
know. They've done this sort of thing before, where they what the difference between that character and the Gandalf character is that they haven't so heavily dropped all these hints that are absolutely there if you just know what you're looking at. They haven't done that with this character yet, but because they just did it with Gandalf, this could be misdirection. I mean, I really could see this character going either way. Blue wizard, Saruman, not wizard, something else, unnamed wizard, anything. Could be anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We cut to Khazad-dûm. Durin is learning of Eregion's fall, and he's kind of not happy that he's excited. He's glad that Elrond survived, but he's thinking like, hey, we can provide aid to the elves, but Disa warns that we need to focus on our own. We have our own problems, and she warns of there's a succession crisis. There's other people thriving for the crown or striving for the king's throne, including a brother that I did not know existed until now, and we have yet to see. I don't believe, right? We haven't seen this character.
I think
before.
the brothers maybe been mentioned once in maybe season 1.
I don't remember. This
Yeah,
this is just a scene of here's a preview of what you can expect the drama to be about around these parts next season.
Yeah, basically.
Totally. And does this? Do we any insight on this? Is this
No?
Okay.
Don't really
no
know.
idea here. Okay.
In fact, I'm just wondering why that they went to the trouble of waking the Balrog up, and he was just satisfied with killing one dwarf, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep now.
I think everything caved in, and in order to get to that mithril, they basically have to unearth that huge part of the mountain, and it would reawaken.
Okay, because what I'm getting at here is are we still going to see that as being a potential danger in Khazad-dûm?
I think so
as well. Okay,
I think so.
Like every time there's going to be like random dwarves gone missing. The Balrog got him.
It's the new legend.
Like it's just like
Durin's kids. You don't still believe in that, do you?
Balrog's gonna get you.
Yeah, but we do get a nice shot of all the dwarven rings. I guess they have yet to be handed out to the other dwarven kings, and
notably the big one.
And Durin's is still. So I don't know how he got a hold of that fucker in the cave-in. But again, another shot that all you had to do was shoot a shot of the prince leaning down and picking up the fucking ring, but we don't have that, and that's okay. Jesus, sorry, I get salty.
There has to be one of us.
And then we cut to Rivendell, and
spoilers.
Spoiler alert! I'm assuming it's Rivendell.
It is, yeah.
Galadriel wakes up in a valley that is safe.
Okay, this is the best. This was one of the best lines, though.
What's happening here?
Is Gil-galad just being like, "You were quiet and not talking, and we were having a great time."
Yeah.
That was so fun. I just laughed out loud because of the sass that he gives Galadriel is one of my favorites. It's been nice seeing Gil-galad in this season having a little bit less of the elven stiffness and a little bit more personality is the wrong word, but just kind of like a little bit more. It's been really nice getting more of him. So this remark to her was just hilarious.
He does mention that this valley is protected by the rings. Is that a thing? Is that something that you guys are?
Absolutely it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I knew the something, but
yeah. Well, it's a little mysterious. It doesn't really say so much how, but everywhere you look that it says something about it, it does say that it does, but it specifically, like it says, like in the Silmarillion, it says that the power of the 3 elven rings were to ward off the decays of time and to postpone the weariness of the world. And wherever that they dwelt, then there also dwelt mirth, and all things were unstained by the griefs of time, which is a very elven thing. This really plays into the desire of what elves want. I don't know. It doesn't really explicitly say. There are a lot of pieces of lore that you can pick up, and I mean, just a minute ago, I was talking about Galadriel's conversation in the scene with the Mirror of Galadriel when she talks to Frodo. And she actually says, don't think that it's just by singing in the trees and shooting arrows that the land is protected. And what she means is by the ring. Now, how is it protected if it's just protected against like the decay of time and the weariness and grief of the passing of ages and whatnot? Mm-hmm. Specifically talking about like against enemies coming in. You can see something contradicting this too, because in the Fellowship of the Ring at the Council of Elrond, there's an elf named Galdor, and he's the emissary of Círdan, who was there representing Círdan, who is now lord over in that part in the Havens in the west, where Lindon is now. And they're talking about like the potential of what are we going to do with the One Ring that we have here, that this Hobbit's brought here. And Galdor says, if somebody says, well, could we even protect? Could we defend against Sauron? You know, and he says, what power that still remains lies with us here in Imladris or with Círdan at the Havens, because he doesn't know that Círdan gave his ring to Gandalf, and then or in Lorien. So that's what he's referring to, is these three realms where the rings are. And he says, but have we the strength to withstand the enemy if the coming of Sauron at the last, when all else is overthrown? And Elrond says, I have not the strength, neither have they. So in that sense, if you're talking about like just some sort of like magical protection against like Sauron actually coming and trying to fuck shit up, it doesn't work that way. But there nonetheless is some sort of protection when Galadriel talks about the door being closed and so on.
Huh.
Yeah.
And orcs won't even dare to go into Lothlorien, you know?
Oh, so that was a nice callback to the doors.
It does. The rings do protect these realms, and they have some effect on them, but the actual mechanism of that is kind of mysterious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get the sense, like I remember at least in the films, right? Like the orcs fear those forests of, like where they're about to enter the Galadriel's forest, right?
Or even Gimli, they say that a witch lives in these woods.
Yeah. Well, the elves look like worse for wear, and there's a moment where it's like Arondir, Gil-galad, Elrond, and
finally having Arondir kind of like with the big boys now. Like,
he's part of the crew.
That is so nice to kind of like have even more condensed storylines together, but also we're going to get more. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he teamed up with the A Squad, and they say, what are we going to do? Do we take the fight to Sauron, or do we wait? Do we hold back and recoup our forces? Because everybody's pretty beat up. We lost a lot of people, and Galadriel mentions that Celebrimbor said we need to focus on, if we hold true, light will always overcome darkness, and with that, Gil-galad, they all stand up. And Gil-galad draws his sword, and everybody cheers.
Will be the sword,
knowing it looks like that we're about to go to battle. We're going to take the fight to him. I'm assuming there's no verbal here.
Yeah,
but you kind of get.
That's what I took from it, because he raised the sword like that.
That's how the episode ends, in a very kind of hopeful sense. I actually thought this season was going to end on quite the like Empire Strikes Back. Like we're all kind of beaten, broken. Mm-hmm. How are we going to get out of here? Like, how are we going to recoup from there? Right. Like, and it kind of felt like that with the montage, that it kind of had that moment. but then they had this elven moment that kind of still felt.
I really liked the end because it gave a sense of like end of a season, but it felt like the beginning. It was really beautiful with the hope, because I was expecting it to end badly. So to have it end in such a hopeful, brilliant, light way, especially because like Galadriel's even more shone in this golden ray of light, is something that probably also just picked up the spirits of everybody around her. Like seeing a visualization of her name in that kind of really big and powerful way did to me symbolize end of a season, but this is just the beginning.
Yeah. And it makes sense to that point that it happens at the beginning of Rivendell.
Yeah.
What did you guys think? I mean, season 3 has not officially been greenlit.
That it has behind the scenes, but there's not been an official announcement from Amazon Prime yet. But they have started doing stuff for season 3.
Amazon did spend a cool $1 billion for the rights. So,
they did. So they're going to get their money's worth.
Yeah, and they kind of said that there was a 5-season plan. So let's just assume there's probably going to be a season 3.
It's safe to assume.
But it's not great that usually by the time, if the show was doing incredible, usually most shows that do really, really, really well get greenlit prior to the season finale to kind of build up the hype.
One of the best things about the past couple of weeks has been the Tolkien community coming together to share their love of all things Tolkien, especially seeing some posts from people that I had seen before that really hated season 1. And they've come out and said, hey, you know what? I decided to rewatch season 1 and start watching season 2, and I will admit that I was wrong. And there have been several people who have done that as well as coming together. If somebody got like hate on their post saying, this episode was really good and here's why. Somebody comments and says something like, oh, grow up, go watch better media. And people will rally to their side and say, okay, well, just like quit commenting on this, or this is all the stuff you're going to get on your feed. Or they're going to say, you know what, I actually really loved this too. And kind of like flooding the place with like love and acceptance has been one of the best things to come out of this the past few weeks.
I'm glad to hear that that kind of positivity is going on. I tend to mostly avoid these things. I think still as a whole, this season was an improvement on season 1. This is fun for me. I'm glad that this show is out there. I'm watching Lord of the Rings shit and we get to come and talk about it like this. I don't. I don't know. I guess I'm still just thinking about like the varying different fan reactions, quote fan reactions on this, because I was wondering like, why, if it gives you such displeasure, then why do you even watch the show? Like why?
They get off somehow on it, and it infuriates me. And so, you know what? Fuck all those people. This show was amazing, and it still is. We're going to get more, and I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the Númenor stuff. I want to see more of that, and there's a whole story of Númenor and Sauron in Númenor with our Farazan, and a lot of how it goes worse in a different place now. So like all the bad things we've seen Sauron be capable of doing, we get to see him do those things somewhere else in a different way, and that's exciting to me to see and to just find out what happens to the faithful, and kind of, I mean, I don't know how far into that, if it's going to go, if that whole thing will go to its conclusion in the next season or not. It would be difficult to, it could happen, I suppose, but man, I would really hate to see this show just kind of go off the rails and make to the point that I was not interested in anymore. But It's just unlikely. I'm seeing Middle Earth's my favorite thing. It's like I love reading these books. And just to see these depictions on these of these things, like, and that's the thing too. Is the books are the books. That's like I'm always going to say that's the best way to enjoy this universe is the books, and nothing's going to take that away.
No.
It's whatever they do, whatever the show is.
Yeah,
it's I'm going to be here for it. It's going to be fun.
And kind of on that point too. I don't know if any of the cast, crew, anybody who works on this will see it, but like, thank you for putting this together, being able to see these things and feel these things also again, because not only do we know the things that happen in the books, all of these other things it's kind of like that dream of if you could watch something again for the first time, what would it be? And almost every nerd's reaction is, Lord of the Rings. And it's nice to be able to, I'll tie it back to Celebrimbor. We know what happens. We've all felt his death and everything that happens. We got to feel it and see it again for what felt like the first time now on screen. So for everybody that put in their hard work, listened to us, and brought all of this to life, like, seriously, thank you. This is one of the best experiences ever, and I cannot wait for more.
Both your all sentiments, absolutely. It's awesome to see this world visualized again, and in such a way with you could tell it's made with a lot of love. But it's great. It's a great show. I'm really looking forward to season 3. I think what'll be nice is I hope that this becomes the Sauron show, which it felt like this season was a bit more about Sauron than it was Galadriel, which I feel like I want, and it sounds weird, but I feel like he's the hero of the show, right? And I know that sounds weird, but I like the fact that he thinks he's the hero.
It's like in the same way that
show.
Satan is the hero of Paradise Lost. Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, who did you come out hating more, Sauron or Kemen? Yeah,
Kemen.
Exactly. You all came out hating Kemen. He's the true villain. I'm kidding. We all know who the actual villain is, but
so. Listen, if season 3 is more Sauron doing more of his thing in Númenor, let's go.
Do it.
Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think the more we sideline some of the characters that, even though they're big names and been cool, whether it's a Gandalf or Galadriel, like, that's fine. Like, we can do that, but, like, let's focus on Sauron. I want that story. That's the most interesting thing going on in this show, and I'm here for it.
All I ask is for more Arondir.
More
look,
there, yeah.
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Yeah.
People look. I like Arondir more than I do Legolas. I'm sorry.
It's
a take, and I love Legolas, one of the best characters. There's just something special about Arondir that made me connect with him more than I did with Legolas.
Well, guys, I think that'll wrap up our Rings of Power series on CouchSoup. I know. Let's just say the conversation's not over. We may be back, but for now, this season is over. Season 2, and we'll be back hopefully for season 3 when it's greenlit, and maybe we could talk about that if there's any details announced. And maybe that's a good reason for us to come back and chat. But thank you guys for watching and listening with us and nerding out with us on this show. It's been a blast, and you can continue watching. Don't stop listening and watching to watching now. Right now, we have a group breaking down Agatha All Along that's playing on Disney Plus right now. So you might be getting those notifications. Go check that out. Those guys are really brilliant in the MCU, breaking down all the cool stuff that's going on Agatha All Along. I hear it's actually a really, really good show. I know. So those guys are kind of giving you all those vibes. So go over, continue if you're subscribing, get the notification, go over there and do what you did here, which is leave a comment and a like. Tell us what you think. Because we always love it, and it also helps other people that are like you find us, which we all want to be one big happy nerd family. And then also don't forget to go over and check CouchSoup.com. That's where you can find all the latest articles. You can find this show as well. You can get be a part of our exclusive community if you want to support CouchSoup. And if you support CouchSoup, that supports us and the shows and the writers and everyone that's involved. There's different tiers with great perks. So please go do that. And if you're already a supporter, thank you. We wouldn't be here without you. It's your support is what kind of keeps things going. Because we are a contributor-run show. We're a contributor-run platform. There's no overlords giving us money. It's all fan funded, as they say. And so, which makes me say thank you to Chris and On for joining us on this awesome Watching Now series for the Rings of Power. You guys brought your A game every show, and I appreciate it. I learned so much.
Same.
Like every show, it's just like I almost said, like, how you learn so much and your brain hurts, like that's in a good way. I'd go home and be like, I feel like I was just at, like, I need to drink tea and rest, because I just had
watch
like a
more
3 hour...
videos about the thing that you were just learning about, because that's what I do.
Yeah. It was good. It's like I'm stretching a muscle I didn't know I had. My Lord of the Rings brain muscle. It's there. Well, thank you guys. Do you any last thoughts before we sign it off here?
Thanks for being here, Melon. You are all great.
Yeah, Drew, thanks for inviting me to be on the show. Aundawyn, thank you so much for doing the show. I really hate to think of what my initial conception of the show would have been when I was thinking it was just going to be me and Drew. And in fact, I was saying, no, I'm not going to do this. Yeah, I think that
I thought the same, so I'm glad you're here.
good dynamic.
Yeah.
It was a good dynamic.
No, it was a good dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be here too when next season when Elrond and Galadriel finally have that moment. And I'll be.
Who's ever editing the episode? Make sure you zoom in on both of our faces.
I'm just gonna not react. Just not react and just cut that out.
I couldn't not react. My face can sometimes be the subtitles.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys. This has been a true pleasure, and we will sign off for now, but we'll see you again.
See you soon.
Thank you.